It was just another noisy lunchtime in the bustling cafeteria of Westbrook High, a place where voices echoed louder than thoughts and popularity often overshadowed kindness. Students swarmed the food line, laughter bounced off the walls, and trays clattered with every passing second. Amidst all this chaos, a girl moved quietly, unnoticed. Her name was Aria. She stepped carefully between the crowded tables, her lunch tray gripped in both hands like a shield. Unlike the others, who clung to their cliques and filled the room with chatter, Aria kept her eyes low. Her expression was calm, her steps purposeful. She didn't scan the crowd looking for a familiar face, because there wasn't one. She was new, a stranger, a shadow in a sea of noise. She found a small table in the corner and sat down alone, hoping for nothing more than a peaceful meal. But peace, she would quickly learn, was a luxury Westbrook High didn't offer easily. Just as she took a bite of her food, a sudden crash jolted her back to reality. Her tray flew from her hands and clattered to the floor. The contents spilled everywhere, juice, rice, fruit, all splattered in a mess around her. The laughter started before she could even react. Chad, the school's golden boy and star quarterback, stood over her with a smug smirk on his face. "Oops," he said mockingly. "Didn't see you there. Freak." His words hit harder than the tray. All around her, students burst into laughter, pointing, snickering. To them, it was a moment of entertainment, a humiliation to feast on. But Aria didn't flinch. She didn't cry or shout. She simply stood up, wiped her hands slowly, and looked at the mess. She didn't say a word. To everyone watching, she was just a quiet girl, timid, fragile, invisible, a nobody, an easy target. But none of them knew her story. Earlier that morning, in the quiet, wood-paneled office of the school principal, Aria had sat quietly across the desk. Her transfer file lay in a sealed envelope. Her past was restricted. She had come from a remote military base, and her records were so classified, even the principal could only see the basics: name, age, guardian. She signed the forms without hesitation. No questions, no nervous chatter. She wore long sleeves despite the warm weather, and her hands, if anyone had looked closely, were calloused and firm, not the kind of hands you expect from a teenage girl. They were the hands of someone who had been trained, drilled, and shaped by discipline. "Welcome to Westbrook High, Miss, Aria," the principal had said, stumbling over her unfamiliar last name. She nodded. That was it. No smile, no attempt at pleasantries. To the school, she was just another transfer. But the truth was far more complex. Westbrook High was ruled by a social hierarchy, and at the top stood Chad and his gang of football jocks. Loud, arrogant, and entitled, they strutted through the halls like kings, their Letterman jackets swaying with every step. Chad wasn't just popular, he was feared. He'd made a reputation out of bullying, humiliation, and putting others down to keep his throne polished. When he first saw Aria in the hall, he turned to his friends with a smirk and said, "Another shy mouse. We'll break her just like all the others." What he didn't know was that Aria had been training in hand-to-hand combat since she was 9. Her evenings weren't filled with TikTok dances or Netflix binges, but with takedown drills and obstacle courses. Her guardian wasn't a parent with a desk job. He was a colonel in military intelligence. Her home wasn't ordinary, and neither was she. After lunch, the halls were buzzing with students rushing to class. Aria walked calmly, hugging her bag to her side. But Chad wasn't done with her. He saw her near the lockers and decided to finish what he started. He blocked her path, towering over her with fake concern. "Hey," he said with a smirk, "what's in the bag? Rocks? Secrets? Or is it your little diary?" He reached out and yanked her bag from her shoulder. Aria didn't speak. Her eyes didn't even blink. In one swift and impossibly fluid motion, she stepped forward, grabbed his arm, pivoted her hips, and threw him over her shoulder. He hit the ground hard with a loud thud, gasping for air as the wind was knocked from his lungs. The entire hallway went silent. No one laughed this time. No one dared. Arya looked down at him with the same calm expression. "Don't touch my things," she said quietly. She picked up her bag, adjusted her sleeves, and walked away, leaving Chad lying on the floor, stunned and humiliated. By evening, the story had gone viral. Clips from security cameras leaked. Students posted reenactments on TikTok. Memes were everywhere. The quiet girl dropped the quarterback. Arya 1, Chad 0. Don't mess with long sleeves. But not everyone found it funny. Chad was humiliated. His pride was shattered. But worse, his father was the chairman of the school board, a man obsessed with power and control. He wasn't about to let his son be the punchline of a meme. That night, Chad and his friends met secretly at his house, angry, vengeful. "She made me look weak," Chad growled. "We'll get her kicked out." They planned everything. The next morning, they would fake another altercation. He'd pretend to be hurt, again. They'd twist the truth, say she attacked him unprovoked. The school would have to take action. The next day, the school called an emergency assembly. Students gathered, staff members took their seats. Arya stood calmly, while Chad hobbled in on crutches, dramatically wincing with every step. "She attacked me!" he cried out. "She's violent! She's dangerous!" The room stirred. Teachers whispered. Students looked unsure. Arya remained silent. Then the principal turned to the screen behind him. "Let's take a look at the security footage," he said. The footage played. Every second, every detail, everyone saw it. Chad stealing her bag, Arya using self-defense. Her movements were precise, controlled. She didn't attack. She neutralized a threat calmly and without excessive force. Gasps filled the room. Students murmured. Some even clapped. Then the doors opened, and in walked a man in full military uniform. Colonel Reynolds, Arya's guardian, a decorated officer in military intelligence. "I believe some clarification is needed," he said. He stood before the entire school board and stated, "Arya earned her black belt before she turned 15. She has trained with Marine instructors. She now assists in tactical defense instruction. What you saw was not aggression. It was discipline." The principal blinked. "So she's fully trained?" The colonel nodded. "If Arya had intended to injure your son, he wouldn't be standing." Chad's face turned pale. He sank into his chair, speechless. The next day, everything changed. Chad's friends gave Arya a wide berth in the hallway. Some nodded respectfully. No more sneers, no more whispers. And then, something unexpected happened. A girl from the bleachers ran up to her during lunch. She was out of breath, her eyes wide with admiration. "You're amazing," she said. "You're my hero. Can you teach me?" Arya looked at her for a long moment. And then, for the first time since arriving at Westbrook High, she smiled. Weeks later, the gymnasium wasn't just used for sports anymore. It became a space for empowerment. Arya had started a self-defense class. For girls, for anyone who felt afraid to walk the halls alone. Teachers joined too. There were no cheers or trophies, just focus and strength, real strength. Arya stood at the front of the room, calm and confident, teaching others what had once made her different, what had once made her lonely. Now, it made her a leader. The school had changed. Respect replaced fear. Courage replaced silence. And it all started with one girl who chose not to fight with her fists, but with her control. Never mistake silence for weakness. Never assume that quiet means powerless. True strength doesn't boast, it acts. And sometimes the loudest message comes from those who speak the least. If you've ever been underestimated, mocked for your calmness, or made to feel invisible, remember Arya. Let your actions speak. Let your strength be seen. Comment silent power if you believe in quiet strength. Like this video if you've ever stood up for yourself or someone else. Subscribe for more inspiring stories where justice speaks louder than hate.